All right, let's ride. You're watching Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you. Appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. Coming up on today's show, we're going to take a look at some under-the-radar, affordable, and realistic free agent targets for the Philadelphia 76ers. Players who they can target this offseason, who they can afford, who can help get this team back on track and hopefully push them past the second round of the NBA playoffs for the first time since 2001. Before we dive into this list, I want to hear from all of you rocking and rolling with us in today's comment section. Who is your favorite Sixers free agency target? Give me a name or names in the comment section and do that right now. Free agent target number one, who is affordable and realistic. We start off with Malik Monk of the Los Angeles Lakers, who this past year had a really impressive year for the Lakers. And as a former first-round pick of the Charlotte Hornets, it looked as though he was heading in a direction in which he was going to be a bust, because from 2017 to 2021, he really struggled to find his footing. Last year, though, he found his footing, and with more minutes, the production was certainly there, and he played an impressive brand of basketball. You look at his numbers over the last 4 years prior to last year: 9 points per game, less than 2 assists per night, 8 field goal attempts per game, and he connected on about 40% of his field goals and almost 34% from beyond the arc. Last year, though, his minutes per game went up dramatically to 28 on a bad Lakers team, but I thought he was one of the better players night in, night out for Los Angeles, and honestly, on some nights, he was the third best player on the roster behind LeBron James as well as Anthony Davis. Notched nearly 14 points per game. The dimes went up, and with the field goals going up, his field goal percentage, which is sometimes rare, also increased to nearly 47.5%, and he connected on about 39% of his field goals from downtown. This is a player who can put the ball on the deck. He can finish around the rim. He is pretty athletic and has spring to his step. He's not the greatest defensive player in the world, but Malik Monk would be a really good addition on the 76ers roster because he can hit some three-point shots, he can play make a little bit, and what he lacks with defense, he can make up for it with a little bit of athleticism. Now, this is why you should subscribe to the channel, because we continue to grow like crazy right here on Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. We cook up and bring you the latest Sixers news and rumors, trade and NBA free agency coverage, all of our content 100% free as it's not behind a paywall, and sometimes we're going to be starting to do these interactive mailbags where we take all of your questions not on the Lakers, on the Philadelphia 76ers, and the more subscribers we get, the more videos that we're able to publish. So make sure you hit that red subscribe button to join the 76ers Now family right here at Chat Sports. Free agency target number two, who's realistic, Donte DiVincenzo of the Sacramento Kings. I thought he played pretty good basketball after he was traded away by the Milwaukee Bucks. And as a former first-round pick, he hasn't quite lived up to the expectations that were heaped upon him after a really successful career with the Villanova Wildcats, where he played excellent in the NCAA tournament en route to the national championship back a couple years ago. Now, he's been pretty solid, but I think he's bound to have a career year very, very soon. 2 years ago, he averaged around 10.5 points per game, and the shooting numbers were very respectable. This past year, the numbers close to that career year that he had 2 years ago. I'd like to see him be a more consistent knockdown shooter, but like Malik Monk, he's a good athlete. He's a much better defensive player than Malik Monk is, and I think he's bound to break out very, very soon. If he can connect on about 40% of his three-point attempts, he is a guy who you want to play on the floor at the end of games because he can floor space. He has the athleticism to get to the rack, and if he can become just a little bit more consistent with his three-point stroke, he can be a very valuable player. And because he hasn't quite broken out yet, he could be a very good bang-for-buck type of contract for the Philadelphia 76ers. Bring the guy home, and in doing so, with some familiar surroundings in Philly, hopefully he can tap into his fullest potential. Grade DiVincenzo as a player for me right now on the NBA 2K scale on a scale of 1 to 100. I know a lot of you hop on the sticks, you're gamers, you like playing video games, so you have an opportunity to rank DiVincenzo as a player on that NBA 2K scale. Get that comment section popping. Another Los Angeles Laker who we're going to talk about, Carmelo Anthony. This idea I'm somewhat lukewarm on, but I do have to give Carmelo Anthony a lot of credit for how he's been able to extend his career. This guy couldn't find a job a couple years ago. He goes to the Portland Trail Blazers, and alongside Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, he's able to extend his career to a certain degree, and he became a pretty consistent three-point threat given his age, and was much more consistent with his outside shot as compared to his NBA career. Now, last year with LA, he was pretty solid on a bad team. 13 points per game, 44% shooter, nearly 38% from distance, and 83% on his free throw attempts. Now, he's nothing close to what he was in his prime, but in his late 30s, Carmelo Anthony has found a way to be a pretty impactful rotational player, and that's what the Sixers need. Now, defensively, oftentimes throughout his career, he's been picked apart, but if you put him on the low block because of his size, he's able to survive to a certain degree. We're talking about a future Hall of Famer who has chops for making some big plays, 22.5 points throughout his illustrious and Hall of Fame career, and as you see, he has become a better three-point shooter the last couple of years, which is a big reason why he's been able to stick in the league and find a roster spot with the Trailblazers as well as the Lakers. I don't think I would make a move for Carmelo Anthony. I don't think I would ink him to a contract, but do you disagree with me or do you agree with me? You let me know in the comment section right now. Give me an S for sign or a P for pass. I'm fielding all of your responses down below right now. I also want you to do me a favor, and I'm going to put you to the test. I want to challenge the great city of Philadelphia, my hometown. I want you to share this video. How do you do that? You hit the share button right below me. Then you select the Twitter icon. I want you to tag me with your tweets. At Chase_Senior is my handle. Use the hashtag PhilaUnite. That is the Sixers hashtag so that the icon for the 76ers pops up. Say whatever you want. You like watching the show. You can give me a free agent target who you want the Sixers to go after. And then click tweet. I will respond to all of you on Twitter at Chase_Senior. Two more players to talk about here. Gary Payton II of the Golden State Warriors. According to Shams Charania, he's going to make his return from a fractured elbow, most likely in Game 1 again in the NBA Finals. What a story he has been. Now, he is the son of the glove, Gary Payton, the longtime Seattle Supersonic who was just tremendous throughout his Hall of Fame career. His son's career has been a little bit different. He was overlooked coming out of Oregon State and really couldn't find his footing as an NBA player. 2017 to 2021, he went back and forth between the NBA level as well as the G League, and he played for a couple of different franchises at the NBA level. Last 2 years, though, he has found a role, he's found a niche, and he's found an opportunity to prove to be a very valuable player on a championship contending team and for a Warriors team that is bound for the NBA Finals. He was really good this year, and his game is perfect, and it's perfectly suited for what the Sixers want. He connected on about 62% of his field goals. He shot about 36% from beyond the arc. But as a defensive player, he can give you really good defense and a little bit more offensively as compared to a player like Matisse Thybulle. And at times this year for the Warriors, he literally played all 5 positions on the floor defensively in some small ball lineups. Even though he's a little bit shorter, he did guard some small ball 5s. I love his ability to mix and match defensively, guard multiple positions on the floor. He is an awesome athlete who can throw down some highlight reel-worthy dunks to get the Wells Fargo Center jumping, and he can also be asked upon to hit some threes from time to time and be a little bit more consistent than Matisse Thybulle. If the Sixers elected to trade him away, they would need to find a wing player like Gary Payton II to make up for what you're losing in a perennial all-pro defensive player in Matisse. Best place in Philadelphia to drink in the summer. I am curious as to what you're going to come up with. When I go back home to Philly, I'm from Westchester, I always like to go to Independence Beer Garden. Anywhere on the river is really fun, but I think Philly over the last couple of years has done a great job of coming up with these pop-up beer gardens in the summertime, but I want to know what the best place in Philadelphia to drink at in the summer is, because once I go back home, I want to see what you come up with, and I'll hit up a couple of these spots. One more free agent target to get to, Nicolas Batum of the Los Angeles Clippers. This guy has played in a bunch of big playoff games throughout his career. He's not scared to rise up and shoot the three late in games, and with his confidence level and his mentality, that's what the Sixers need. They need more dog DNA on this roster. That's something they've been bereft of the last couple of years, and I think that's cost them in the playoffs when they have come up short mentally, especially when the game gets really tight. Batum is a guy who I know, if you give him the ball at the end of games, at the end of shot clocks, he's not going to be scared to let it fly. And with the questions moving forward of Danny Green, you're going to need one of those floor spacers who is somewhat of a solid defensive player. Now, Batum is a different player than Danny Green, but he can give you the three-point shot that Danny Green gave you and bail you out when things get stale offensively. Last year with the Clips, 8 points per game, 46% from the deck, 40% from long range on about 5 attempts per night. I would love Nicolas Batum on this roster. He can play a little small ball backup 5. He can play a little bit of 3 and 4. And when you look at the Sixers roster right now, they need wings, they need shooting, they need toughness. Nicolas Batum gives you some toughness, he gives you some shooting, and he can play a little bit along the wings as well. Before I hop on out of here, first of all, appreciate all of you for watching today's show and all of your support. Greatly appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm posing this question once more. Favorite Sixers free agency target? It can be somebody expensive, somebody on the peripheries of this roster. Either way, you play the GM and you let me know.